Welcome back to the Electrify podcast, brought to you by the creators of Electrify Expo, North America's largest EV festival, coming to a major city near you. All right, sweet. Excited to have this guest here on, and we've met at SEMA show and like right before we hit record, shooken hands. But let's dive into the belly of the beast. Let's hear the exhaust. One, David Borla, CMO of Borla Exhaust. You know the name. I just, right before we hit record as well, I said, thank you for your support of the Beast from the Bay, Matt Field, 777. He drives the Borla Exhaust Corvette. Obviously, like I said, this is Electrify, so all things EV. We're going to talk about that, but also adaptation, progression, acknowledging EV. But first of all, thank you, David Borla, for joining us here today.
Thanks for having me. Super psyched to be here.
Yeah, man. So, all right. So we'll get right into the EV, the nitty gritty of it. People are like, the first thing everybody talks about EV, I don't know. One is like, charging, right? Charging. The other one is the exhaust. Like I just need to hear that note. And obviously Borla has played a major role in people's lives and obviously yours, your parents founding this and coming from Brooklyn and, kind of making the move over to the United States. What did Borla Exhaust answer with the exhaust note on EV vehicles?
So when the EV thing started to kind of, really get some traction, we weren't really sure where we fit in the beginning because, I come from a background of real car guys. And so we really didn't want to do something that was going to be a gimmick or really sort of artificial or diminish the brand or diminish the vehicles or the market for that matter.
Yeah.
Been doing this for a long time and there's very few companies in this space that sort of, take it to the level that we have through the years. And there are many of them, but we just sort of have a certain expectation of a product line. And so it was hard for us to kind of figure it out in the beginning. But from the very beginning, EV owners were coming to us and saying, hey, look, it's really missing something. And if anybody gets it, it's you guys, and we had major companies, OEs, and some of the largest exhaust manufacturers in the world coming to us, like, what are we going to do? And we didn't have a spark. We just didn't have that moment, and so without it, we just kept doing what we were doing and appreciated electric cars quite a bit. I've been a fan of them from the beginning, as with my father. So always sort of had respect and love for EVs, but just didn't really know where we fit. And so interestingly, in 2014, we offer, for those of you who don't know, our core business is aftermarket exhaust systems. And of course, a big part of aftermarket exhaust systems is sound. And it's really that sort of visceral connection between performance driving and sound and the feedback that you get and personalization of sound and everything that sound brings to the driving experience. And we wanted to recreate that in our booth at SEMA. And we did that with a simulator in 2014. We built a simulator, we put it in our booth, and on a touchscreen you could select different exhaust systems for the same vehicle. It was a 2014 Mustang at the time, a very simple little digital track, and you could drive around and switch exhaust systems while you were driving and sort of get that feeling of like, everything's the same, we're just changing the sound. What does that do to the driving experience? And it was kind of an interesting thing. And as this EV thing started to evolve, I had this moment where I was like, what if we just took what we did with the simulator, put it in an electric vehicle? Let's just try it, And the work was already done because we had already done it for the simulator. So we owned a Mach-E, and we took the Mach-E and we bought some off-the-shelf speakers and just sort of did a little hack job deal on it. And from that moment on, it was a game changer for us. And this has been a consistent thing where it's just very difficult to explain, really, frankly, in an environment like this. It's one of those things that you just have to experience. But sound matters. Yeah. We only have 5 senses. And until, no matter how much technology evolves, until humans mutate or whatever, we're only going to have 5 senses. And smell and taste are not really a big part of the performance driving experience. So you take sound away And that brings back to what you were saying earlier about how people feel that something is really missing. But one thing we didn't want to do from the beginning was, it's very important to us that this is not a toy or a gimmick, as I was saying before. So it's been about, and one of the reasons why it's been sort of slow to roll out is that we want to have a seamless integration with the performance of the car. We really believe this is a performance product, not in the sense that it makes the car go faster, but that it's like, we use the word instrument because it's like an instrument, like a gauge on your instrument cluster, and it's also like a musical instrument. So it's like an instrument in two ways, you know. But when you bring that back, when you do it right, and we're tying into throttle position and wheel speed and load on the motor and a whole bunch of other, you know, dynamics. And so the idea is to get to a point where you forget about what you're driving. It doesn't really matter at that point, right? When you're hauling ass, you reach a point where you forget about all the rest of it. You know, how do we bring back that important feedback, right? You know, when the car is going to break loose, you know how hard you're going into a corner, how hard you're accelerating. And so that's what we're trying to do. And that's what we've been doing. And of course,
you guys create emotion, right? And when people invest into Borla Performance and Borla exhaust, I love what you said there. It's an instrument, which again, you took the words out of my mouth, and obviously you're selling exhausts and, you know, CMO, so you got to get creative with that, because it does cut into, you know, when you go to SEMA show and you see all these options, let's call it what it is. You guys have an opportunity to kind of really bridge that gap. So tapping in as you know, as classic a company as you are, I mean, you're still fairly, you know, new, and you want to be relevant. You know, you kind of, and again, just given the climate of aftermarket parts and aftermarket, you know, what SEMA does as an organization, you have to hit that head on. So kudos to you for being kind of a spearheading kind of that emotion.
We really believe somebody's going to do this. It's going to be a thing, whether we do it or not. You know, if you want to look at sort of the history of Borla and where we've come from, where we're going, how do we sort of see this? I see it as sort of like a Blockbuster Netflix moment, right? We're Blockbuster. Ooh. We're Blockbuster. We've had our brick and mortar. Let's not make the same mistake that Blockbuster made in just not evolving, right? Blockbuster could have been Netflix. Blockbuster left the door open for Netflix, you know? So, you know, a Netflix is going to come along and do this, and probably multiple companies are going to come along and do that. And by the way, competition is good. You know, we want to see others get in and do this. But the digital side of it, as we started to open this up, gave us opportunities to do things you can't do with exhaust, you know, and we're really loving that side of it. Like, for instance, shutting it off. You know, one of the things that we get a lot of, you know, we go to Electrify Expo and we get these, you know, EV owners that come up to us that don't come from the ICE world, you know, and they're like, and this is sincere. It's not an argumentative thing. They come up to me and they say, but EVs are quiet. Like, we love EVs because they're quiet. You know, why would you do this? Well, there's a volume knob. You know, we have a piece of hardware inside the vehicle, and there's a volume knob. You can turn it down if you want. You can shut the whole thing off if you want to. So yes, I love exhaust notes as much as anybody. I grew up with it. Are there times when you wish you could turn it down or shut it off? Yes. And this is pretty amazing that you can do this. Another thing is switching sounds. This is one of the greatest things about it, right? We're building a sound library of both internal combustion sounds and futuristic George Jetson Tron type sounds.
Sick.
So you can have, and it's taking us a while to do it, you know, but eventually we'll have hundreds, and our vision is to have thousands of sounds available. So go ahead.
No, I don't know if you see the smile on my face. I think it's just so much fun, you know, and that's the different emotion that EVs create. It's, you know, and again, I always reference my buddy Kirpius. He's a photographer for Harley Davidson. And when Harley Davidson initially launched, it was a Harley Davidson Livewire. Beside the point, now it's just Livewire. But Kirpius is this badass looking dude, beard. He's a Harley photographer. He's been in like a Lana Del Rey commercial or music video. And he took the press photos of the live wire over in, I think it was Spain. Regardless, I was like, what do you think of the bike? He's like, dude, it is so much fun. It is just such a different experience. And I think the motorcycle world is maybe, Harley Davidson, that's just, I mean, talk about, 115 years old, right?
Yeah.
And just that history of that. So that taking that demographic and saying, hey, try this. This is where the smile on my face comes from, because seeing and hearing you talk about this, because you're like, oh no, sky's not falling, sky's opening up. And you're talking about, that exhaust note, that tune. And, yeah, like traditional ICE exhausts, you can have them tunable, obviously open, obviously exhaust openings or closings or different, mufflers or even cats or no cat, again, race cars only. But with you talking about futuristic, and I always reference Vaughn Gittin Jr. with his Mach E 1400, he had T-Pain curate an audio note that was a mix of rally car, drift car, all this. And I loved what you said about the audio library. That is fun, man. That's cool.
Vaughn is an awesome guy, and I've been lucky enough to have a conversation with him about his Mach-E and what he did with sound with that thing. And he's way ahead of everybody, and that was really cool. And it was great for us to see, because it kind of gave me some motivation that others see it and hear it and feel it and want it, But back to the futuristic sounds or even ICE sounds, you download the ones you want, and then there's another layer that allows you to customize those sounds. So we have filters and effects and other things, EQ and compression and phasers and things that you can add a little bit of here, tweak them a little bit, and then you save your presets, and you can have a sound that's unique to you. You can share it with your friends. It's kind of like an open source kind of thing. We want to make this because the personalization side of it is really important too. Something that we've learned over the years is, sound is subjective, and in the way people want different paint colors, and, one guy wears a different pair of socks or whatever to distinguish himself. Sound can do the same thing. So, you can have your own sounds, and it's all configured through an app, a really cool app. And we believe that the next generation of car guys are going to be very comfortable tuning their vehicle with a touchscreen. Whereas, my dad's generation doesn't want touchscreens anywhere near the car. They're like, get this thing out of here. The younger guys have been, their entry point is really video games and Fast and Furious, Formula Drift, and they're very technically savvy. And so imagine being able to change the sound of your car with a touchscreen on your phone. And I do want to say, because this question comes up a lot, that when the car's in motion, the app is you can't use the app when the car's in motion. So that's why we have a piece of hardware in there with a selector. You configure the hardware. Once the car's in motion, you'll have a choice of 4 sounds. So you'll configure the hardware the way you want, in your garage or with the car stationary. Set up the 4 sounds the way you want. Dial them in, get all the filters the way you want, save it, and then you go haul ass, and you got your 4 sounds. You can stop, alter them again, change them. So it's both of those things. It's really bringing that performance thing back, and then the personalization of, hey, this is me. And when the car's driving down the road, everybody knows, hey, that's Jarod.
Yeah, I think it's so cool. And like I said, I was coming into this thinking just like it's an audio thing, but I love how you had this kind of idea of the interface. So I got to ask you, you talk about other manufacturers, competitors. Are OEs coming to Borla and saying, we need this? Like, again, you say you have a Mach-E. Anybody else kind of, are they maybe tuning you out of the market, no pun intended, or are you working with them? Because at the end of the day, now you're an audio company. Now you're like this tech kind of savvy, this interface. So I think that's cool, because again, now with OE manufacturers working with Fox Shocks, working with, obviously there's audio companies, if it's Bang & Olufsen, if it's JBL, Bose. Now the Borla EV exhaust, or what are we branding this? I mean, because is it an exhaust?
I don't call it an exhaust. We call it active performance sound.
Okay.
Performance sound being, we really want to make sure that everybody knows this is a performance product. It's not a noise maker. It's all coming off the computer and giving you all those dynamics, and it's not just making noise to make noise. And active just gives the sense that it's changing and it's something you can alter. But we believe, 20, 30 years from now, the word exhaust is going to be nowhere near this product line. It's a sound thing. As far as the OEs, you mentioned, there are a lot of different types of OEs out there. There's the original equipment manufacturer of the vehicle, and then there are the audio companies that you're talking about. And I'm really lucky to be my parents' son, and they've built an incredible network, and I stand on their shoulders. So I have access. First of all, I grew up being a part of this, and I just sort of know the language and how people talk. And what I'm getting at is that we're a pretty tightly knit community, believe it or not. So am I talking to them? Yes, all of them. Are they beating my doors down for it? Not yet. They want to see what we do. They're interested. They're rooting for me.
Yeah.
They all want to see us do it, and they want to see us bring some fun to this, and they're paying attention, and we'll see how far we can get. We got a lot of work to do, and the future's unwritten, and I'm not so arrogant as to think we have it all figured out, but we're having a lot of fun with it, and we're getting better at it every day. And I can't wait to bring it to the world, and I can't wait to see what it becomes. And like I said, it's no fun to race alone either. I'm psyched to see competitors get involved in this, and have all of us push the envelope. That's what we do. As far as OEs kind of locking us out of this or that whole thing, my opinion of it is this: every exhaust system we ever sold went on a vehicle that had a perfectly good exhaust system from the factory. And so what does Borla do? What does the aftermarket represent? What is SEMA? What is Formula Drift, for that matter? Mm-hmm. We push the envelope well beyond what the OEs are comfortable doing. So the OEs will go so far with it, and we'll take it 1,000 times further and edgier. And, that's what we do. And that's the relationship there,
That's
so
great.
what's important to us is that sound is a thing. We want to see the OEs do this because we're in the world of modification. So you need something to modify to begin with. So we're all kind of helping each other here make this whole thing happen.
And a couple things here. You gave the hat tip to Von Gittin Jr. talking about, and when I interviewed him here on the podcast, I love what he said. He's like, it's a compliment. We have an ICE car, we have an EV car, right? So what he's doing is, again, you make performance exhausts as aftermarket. And then I announced Formula Drift, which is obviously very audible. It's, we have decibel meters. We can't exceed some of the loudest cars, such as, Matt Field, but it's classy. It's classy, classy noise. But with Nitro Cross, it's now our premier class. And even now with next, we have a new class that's EV. They're 1,000 horsepower, all electric. And that's again, what's cool about Nitro Cross is it's on gravel. So you get this gravel machine gun against the fiberglass or the carbon Kevlar or, carbon fiber. But I think we have an opportunity there. I'd love to introduce you to Nitro Cross, and let's get some audio going there. And that's, again, back to your fun, a point about having fun. Nitro Cross is a lot of fun. Here's Pastrana and a lot of Europeans, it's a blast, no pun intended. And yeah, I think I could see you guys doing something there as well.
I would love to hear more about what your vision is, and introduce me to more people in that area. And then I'm biting my tongue. There's a whole bunch of stuff I can't.
Come on, man. Let's reveal it. Electrify news. That's why we're here. We're breaking news. David Borla here. CMO.
When we're ready, I will announce it with you guys. But
all right.
A lot of people are paying attention to what we're doing, and there's a lot of excitement about it. And when you talk about a guy like Vaughn, again, I don't know him and I don't want to act like I do, but I can tell you this without even talking to him. Something that he and I have in common, and you do as well. We love cars. We just love cars, and for me, he loves to race cars. I love to race cars too. But what I really love to do is make them sound cool. That's what I really love to do. That part of car culture that's about sound. And I really don't care how the car's powered. I don't.
Yeah.
I love them all. Like hydrogen might be coming or whatever else is coming. It's just not something that I really think about. I just like sound, and I like the way cars sound. And I feel like it's just a part of me. It's just something I want to do. I can't stop.
Well, it's part of your upbringing. And you, with your mom and dad founding this company, like I said, they're imports, right? So they came over, and I love this opportunity being in Brooklyn, New York, which talk about loud, talk about noise, talk about audio. That's still to this day. It's such a, you beep, 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 beep. Yeah, I mean, that is a track in itself. So like I said, this compliment. I mean, the banner behind you. For those that don't know, Borla Exhaust. What's your motto?
Sound like heaven, go like hell.
Boom. I mean, that's exactly it. And that's Spotify, right? So this is going back to your active performance audio. What do you call it again? We got
Active
it.
performance sound,
Okay,
APS.
active. Yeah, okay. Active performance APS. Cool. Thank you. It's like Spotify. Like I love Steely Dan, but of course I'm gonna pending the environment. And this is what Matt Farrow really brought up, which is really cool, is big Cadillac DeVille 4-door drop top PCH. I think that as an EV experience would be really rad because nobody cares if it's an LS or if it's a, even like like a V Star or whatever. Nobody cares. But that experience on PCH with EV, no audio exhaust of, that engine sounds terrible. Let's just call it what it is.
Right.
Right. All you want to do is listen to, if it's Allman Brothers or, Ventura Highway, America and drop top, or it could be Ice Cube. Today was a good day,
Yeah.
if you're right. But that EV experience was dope. But now, here comes Borla with this audio. Imagine the EV in a Cadillac drop top with this exhaust note that is curated just like your Spotify playlist.
You mentioned, I'm sorry, I forget the artist that Vaughn worked with, but
T-Pain.
T-Pain. So what about that moment that we all know? I have a hard time articulating this, but you're driving, you got a song on the radio, and this is back to the ice days, but you downshift, or you just hit this moment where the song and the car and everything just kind of comes together. There's something there with EVs. I haven't quite gotten there yet, but there's something there with music and the car together and that whole experience. I mean, music and cars have been a thing since the 50s.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of headroom here to grow and to be creative with this and to do something really meaningful.
Do you have kids?
I do. I have two boys.
How old?
6 and 8.
So where you and I, again, I'm 45. I have a 17 and a 10, and I reference them all the time on this podcast because we're at the cusp. And again, I'm not. You don't need to say your age if you feel compelled. You can.
I'm 50.
Okay, I'm 45. You and I are on the cusp of that. We are the tape generation, mini disc, CD, right? I mean, VHS. So now here's our kids. Again, even my 17-year-old's, he's getting into cars. He's announcing Electrify Expo, the Electric Racing League, the ERL, the electric skateboards. We came from the Search for Animal Chin. We came from the Dogtown and Z-Boys, like that era, right? And now they're on ERL and they're on this, what's a tape, but now we're going and revisiting vinyl. Tape collections are, you can go retro. It's fine. It's cool. So here's Mustang. So again, for reference, I love all this. I love this conversation because you're the kind of, you're cut from my cloth where it's the aftermarket, it's the performance. Mustang just celebrated their 60th anniversary. And I don't know if you know this, but on the all new Ford Mustang, it's a digital dash and you can have the current one. Pending your mood, you could change it. They just debuted over the air. You can update it to the 1965 Ford Mustang dash, or you can go,
body, right?
or you can do the Fox body dash. How cool is that? This is I got chills just thinking about this because now I've always said it and I'll say it again: is the car is the canvas, you're the artist. So now here's this exhaust note, which is another play into it. That's performance, but it's playful, smile inducing. Like, again, that's what Vaughn says about smiles. We were talking about him a lot. And I know he's not even on Borla exhaust, but give somebody their flowers like Pastrana and people that have changed the game. If it's Ken Block or whomever. Right. And again, Matt Field,
if I could afford those guys, they'd be with it. I'd be with them too.
Well, you're with Matt Field and Matt Field is, he's a raw dude. His dad races, his sister's a trainer.
We've been with Matt for a long time.
Time. And you guys have done a great job embracing that and loud and proud. But, it's just this constant evolution. Look at him building a C8 Corvette, which is a rear engine. It's the American Ferrari answer.
Yeah, to get involved in that C8, But what you said about the car being a palette, and you're the artist, the audio thing just needs to be a part of that, whether we do it or not. I mean, it's got to be a part of it. Sound matters in car culture. It really does. Now, as far as my kids, so I have a Ford Lightning and I have a Hellcat Durango. And I think if you ask them, they probably choose the Lightning.
That's interesting.
You know,
Why? Why do you think that?
I think the tech, all the tech, they're just really psyched about the tech.
It's crazy.
You know, it's really, really what it is. I mean, don't get me wrong; they love the Durango too. So, but I think they're the kind of what you're talking about. Their youth and their enthusiasm. It just they can sort of they're just drawn to the tech of the Lightning.
And ease of use is going to be a big thing too. Like again, I think my father-in-law is 75, I think he is. I think he'd love that. He'd be like, "Hey, Jarod, check this out," on his car. If you got a new car, and again, I think 5 years down the road, it's going to have this Borla Performance, audio, and he'll be like, "Hey, Jarod, check this out," and tune something. And like I always say, have fun with it. Tesla, your car farts. You can play. I'm imagining, like you said, you grab another gear and it's here we go. That could be Mario Brothers. And it's licensed through. It might be, right?
I mean, everybody's asking for Star Wars sounds, but I think licensing that stuff's going to be pretty tough.
Yeah,
but I really think the futuristic sounds, the cars it makes a lot more sense. The futuristic stuff. Don't get me wrong. I love the V8s, and we're going to great lengths to be able to have all those classic motors and to really make it sound right inside and outside the vehicle. And we're going to do all that stuff. But if I had to bet on it, I think what's really going to matter moving forward is going to be the futuristic sounds.
Let's just talk generically about the company Borla, where you're at, what you're doing. Literally, I always say it, no pun intended, but what kind of noise you're making? Sound like heaven, go like hell. What, I don't want to, like you said, you have things that you can't say. You'd love to, but don't do it. SEMA Show 2023, things like that, PRI, even Electrify Expo or going to Cars and Coffee. They're popping. There's so much noise right now. Again, no pun intended, but there's so many things going on between Formula Drift, Nitro Cross. I mean, there's so much stuff going on. What's going on in the Borla exhaust world outside of obviously this audio performance?
So, our core business is just making exhaust systems for performance cars. So there's still a nice selection of ICE cars available. We're putting a lot of R&D into this active performance sound. I mean, we're coming from being, metal workers, exclusively metal workers, to now getting into software development. I mean, it's such a big change for us, and we really want to stay in our lane as far as, all the product stuff we talked about earlier, but to get there is a much different thing. So, we're involved in developing software. We're building our own DSP, which is a digital signal processor. It's a computer. We couldn't find one off the shelf that would do what we needed, and wiring harnesses and speaker enclosures, speakers. I mean, we have these speakers that you install on the outside of the vehicle. They have to have the right sonic range to them to get all those sounds. They have to be durable. So, just keeping up with our core business and trying to stay on the forefront of active performance sound is enough. It's plenty of work. It's plenty of work for us. So,
yeah. So again, what was just backtracking here? Here we are, a quarter of the way through 2024. What was exciting at SEMA Show for you outside of EV?
Well, first of all, the EV thing presents a great opportunity for us because we can start the thing inside and rev it, which is something because of the emissions you could never, and gas stuff you could never do, and SEMA was super cool about it. So that's a huge draw for us, is having an EV and being able to toggle through the sounds. And, anytime we start it, people come. But we had, we always have a Dave Kindig vehicle. And then we had Matt Field's C6. And I'm hopeful. I don't know if I'm putting Matt in a tight spot here, but I'm hopeful we'll have the C8 in our booth this year. And then, SEMA has changed a lot. So it's not really so much about displaying products anymore as much as it is about interacting with the community and really supporting SEMA. A lot more end users coming by now, a lot more media coming by. So it's kind of more about that stuff than it is about, oh, here's our newest exhaust system for the Mustang or whatever. And again, I'm fortunate enough to have been going to SEMA shows since the late 90s. And I'm really just love the fact that I've been able to witness this whole thing. And I feel a responsibility to the community and to SEMA to help and to do this the right way and to make sure we keep doing it the right way with EVs too, right? Like let's not mess this up.
Mm-hmm.
Let's do this the right way. And so SEMA's Action Network and all the education stuff that they have available, and Mike Spagnola is just so awesome, and he's
get out of my head. I was just gonna say that. What a perfect, like I said, call him the Lorax. He speaks for the trees, man. He lives it. He loves it. He grew up in it, from street scene to now this, and SEMA as an organization is definitely complementing something like what Electrify Expo, Game Respect Game, and SEMA show starting in Dodger Stadium parking lot and now growing to this. It's amazing. And here you are on the precipice or on the cusp as well of really having, like you said, a responsibility more so than an opportunity to your kids and to the future. We only got one planet, so let's take care of it. So again, it's a great compliment. I love that you have a Lightning and a Durango. Those are absolutely juxtapositional from an EV standpoint. And the Lightning, Jim Farley is very transparent about the development of that car and what he's done as far as, driving the car across country, charging stations and this, and what solution does it solve? And that's the big thing is, you started right out of the gate. You're saying this isn't a widget. This is something that complements your experience as well as performance. That's why performance is in the name of this audio. We're bouncing around here, but this is what I do, man.
No, I'm totally with you. And again, it's all just about car culture for me. Mm-hmm. I really try to stay out of those ICE versus EV things. Like when it gets too deep into that conversation, I just go back to, we make cars sound cool. That's what we do. We love cars. We love making them sound cool. And I'm also tight with a bunch of the guys from the Electrify Expo. I mean, I've known BJ forever, Neil forever, Peter McGillivray forever. So we're really intertwined. We really are. We're all pulling in the same direction. It's fun to see. It's also fun to see guys like BJ and Neil, kind of reach a new point in their careers. Like you said, we're all kind of, moving into a new part of our lives, and we're the ones that are gonna carry this thing. And I'm psyched about it.
Yeah, and like you said, here's my son. BJ hit me, and again, same. I've known BJ when he was at McGuire's, right? So this is late '90s. Known him longer than I know my wife, and I met my wife at SEMA Show '99. She works in the industry. She was actually at Dynamax. She was at Tenneco Automotive when I first met her. So
nice.
Competitor, but she's now since left. So, but she was at McGuire's for 18 years, and now she works at MW Co, which is Momo Weld ADV1 Forge Star. So, and again, this I liked what you said. It's not fun to race alone, and this rising tide lifts all ships mentality is definitely very welcomed, I think warranted, and being respectful that you're not the only show in town. If you're, like I say, like I got a bunch of tattoos, like I've been tattooed by your favorite tattoo artist that you've never even heard of, right? It's like music. You're like, and you're never going to know it all. I always analogously say, like, it's the Harry Potter library. That's just all these books and ladders. You'll never read all those books, but sure as heck, I'd love to hear David Borla's position on your automotive DNA, right? Or Spag's like automotive DNA, like big Nissan Datsun guy. I'm a Honda dude. Like I grew up a Honda guy in San Diego. Fast and Furious, before Fast and Furious came out, they made the movie about us, and now it's like evolved into this. I never thought I'd be announcing Formula Drift for 21 years, and now here I am announcing Nitrocross and emceeing, work with Snap-on Tools and Harley and Hot Wheels. Again, I see the Hot Wheels behind you with Borla, on the cars and the deco. That's a kid's dream come true. And here you are. I recommend a stand-up bit or the whole one. Andrew Santino. It's called Cheeseburger, and he talks about big truck must be small, right? I'm gonna call it what it is. It's like, no, we're just kids. We just want a big truck. I just want a big truck. It doesn't have anything to do with my genitalia, and I'll let you watch it. It's explicit. So for any kids out there, ask your parents. But we're kids at heart, and we want to have fun, and that's what it is. But again, it's smile inducing. That's what Vaughn's even about. And look what he did with the switchgear, right? Switchgear, the electric Raptor.
Yeah.
And Mike Levine and Farley, they're excited about that, and Henry Ford III. And Dodge is this way, Toyota's that way. Hyundai's making a lot of noise, the Ioniq, and it's cool, man. And it's exciting. I was really excited because, again, just where Borla's at in playing with all fields. Because I did walk past your booth at SEMA show. I was like, dang, that's sick. And there were other, like you said, non-exhaust names that were just introducing this. And I saw that tunable, different audios. And I was like, I don't know. Like, I want to support those that have supported the career. But then also, I think, I'm sure you're talking to, like you said, audio manufacturers. And I know people in that world. If it is MB Court, Hyphonics, if it's Rockford Fosgate, if it's, Kicker back in the day. And, I mean, there's so, and look at how that industry has had to pivot and shift, because now the OE audio systems are pretty sufficient. So the aftermarket audio of amps and this and that, I love that the synergies and the companies are working together in unison. It's like, look, I'm never going to know it all. So why don't I tap all the resources that Borla has for this scenario?
As large as the automotive market is, and, we talk about how big the aftermarket is, the aftermarket pales in comparison to the size of the overall automotive market, right? You take all of our competitors on the exhaust side and put us together, we don't even have 1% market penetration on the number of cars built in this country every year. So the OEs are only going to go so far with it, right? And then we're the ones that really push it further. And there's a nice group of people around the world that it brings us all together. And that's the other thing about EVs too, is that it's opening up markets for us that like, for instance, Sweden, was a market where we just never got phone calls, or, because it's just like loud exhaust systems are just not a thing in Sweden. All of a sudden, where it's like all this interest from Scandinavia now on our products, and it's really cool to see us kind of being able to flex a little bit like that and get to some areas that we haven't before.
Yeah, and you got to get creative. I mean, like I said, my wife works at Momo, one of the companies under the umbrella. In Italy, you're not allowed to change your steering wheel or something along those lines. It's crazy. Like, and again, this is something that comes along and you just roll with the punches, or you don't. Like, again, the Action Network of SEMA. I mean, they were literally just this last week, Spags, and I saw Ant Anstead and a couple other representatives talking about the aftermarket and why this is necessary. I mean, look at Cletus McFarland and what he did he has this racetrack that he bought, and now they're trying to build a neighborhood around it. Be like, yo, we were here first. He was there in front of his city council saying, like, the racetrack's here. If you want to build houses around it, have at it. But it's like the classic, urban legend of the woman that lives near Pomona Raceway, and the track's been there, but she's lived there longer. And I guess they always send her to Hawaii during winter nationals. Right? Have you ever heard that urban legend?
This one I've heard, yeah.
Yeah. So, but with Cletus McFarland and what he's doing is, all right, got this racetrack, aka now Freedom Factory. It was, I can't remember what it was before. That doesn't matter. And trying to build a house around it. Imagine if here's this neighborhood. Oh, we're going to build a racetrack. Immediately that would get cut off. So why are you going reverse here and building houses around what you already know? It's like, oh, there's a dump there. Well, we're going to build a house around it. Well, it's going to smell. But it's fine. No, it won't. It's going to stink. So going full circle about your senses, it's fun. And this is why I say we're not exclusive to EV. It's more about, like you said with Neil Chin, what he's doing with, Electrify Show Off. That's saying, like, look, there's a crew called Ruined. That's all EV cars. Right. And Ruined is, I love that. And I love the name of the juxtaposition of, like, it's not ruined, but people be like, oh, you ruined that car.
Right.
Yeah.
Some people do feel that way, but when you travel internationally, I mean, I've been like to China, where there's a pretty major language barrier for me. And guys I can barely talk to, but it's like, you finally get out to the track, or you get into that automotive world, and everybody's just having fun with cars. And that's all it really is. You put a guy like, put you and Vaughn next to each other. If you can find two lawnmowers, you're going to race them, just because that's what we love to do. So I'm just really psyched to be a part of this. Thank you for inviting me on this show and having me be a part of it. I think that as an exhaust company, I'm a little kind of concerned sometimes that maybe the EV crowd isn't going to embrace us, because we're so entrenched in exhaust. I mean, if there's anything that is ice, it's exhaust, and it's been anything but that for us getting into this. And so It's been a lot of fun, and it's been a real eye opener, and I've learned a lot and met a lot of amazing people through the process. And the EV market is a real thing, and real fun to watch it grow, and fun to be a part of.
Well, thank you for your time. And, people that are listening, when can they anticipate this, the performance audio active experience? When
we have a kit for the Mach-E already that's available now. We should have a Lightning kit pretty soon. We're working on some stuff for Tesla too. But the way software and development works is there's just a lot of work on the front end. And what we're primarily working on right now are two things, which is the algorithm, or the algorithms, which is really about when the throttle's in this position, the wheels are moving like this, and you're at an angle like that. And, what should it sound like, And so an exhaust system, you build an exhaust, you put it on the car, and it sort of does its thing, right? With software development, you have to put it all in there. You have to program it all, or it's not going to happen. So it's just a lot of back and forth. You program it, you drive it, you take notes, you go back, you program it again. We don't have an endless resource of software engineers. So, you come up with 100 ideas, and it takes 3 months to make it happen. And then you finally get to drive it. You go back, you tweak it again. Then all of that has to live. I keep talking about this DSP, this digital signal processor. It all has to live in there. We don't want to overbuild it because it'll be too expensive, but it's got to be strong enough to do what it needs to do. Then it has to get mounted somewhere. Can't get too hot. Like, there are a lot of, durability of the speaker. So we're really in this sort of skunkworks development phase, and we'll be rolling it out. But we've never been a first to market company. We're just, it matters. We put pressure on ourselves to work, and we're always up early working, but we want to be best to market. So if it's going to take us a little longer, it's going to take us a little longer.
That's fair.
But
yeah.
I don't want to sell something to somebody until I'm like super psyched about it. So right now, the only thing we're super psyched about is the Mach-E.
That's cool, and that's good. And you're super stoked on having fun. Again, sound like Kevin, go like hell. And I think you've done a great job. Where can people check either you out or the company itself? Social media networks, YouTube. What else? Again, here's you go. Go ahead, plug away.
So Borla.com. There's a lot of information there about the active performance sound. We have a landing page there for that. We're fortunate enough to have had some media outlets do some stuff on it. So you can find some pretty prominent articles out there. We do have Instagram and Facebook. I have it too. You can look for us. But really the website is probably the place to go. And then you'll see us at Electrify Expo too. So
awesome.
Come check us out at Electrify Expo.
That's cool. Well, thank you so much, David Borla, Borla Performance, Borla Exhaust. I say generically Borla Performance, and again, thank you. Shout out to Scarpelli.
We did change our handle from Borla Exhaust to Borla Performance because now we're in the EV thing. So that's the official name of the company and always has been. But our social media handles are now Borla Performance. And Brandon Scarpelli is awesome too.
Yeah, so that's why I was going to shout out not only Matt Field but Scarpelli. Love Scarps, and I don't know if you've ever been called Scarps, by the way. I just came up with that, but
I like it.
Scarps. We can maybe use that. Now he's going to listen in. We'll give him an Easter egg here. But thank you, David Borla, for not only just this interview, but for all that you do for the aftermarket industry and performance overall. And excited how you play in the sandbox of the EV world, man. And see you at Electrify Expo.
Well, thank you again for having me. Super psyched to be on here and have had a chance to talk to you. And looking forward to seeing this whole thing move forward.
Yeah, man. Send it. Thanks. Thanks for listening to the Electrify podcast, brought to you by the creators of Electrify Expo. Be sure to catch full video episodes on YouTube at Electrify TV and follow along on social media for daily clips and more.